Coming up next on 13 ABC Action News at 5, we are live at the new Titanic exhibition at the Imagination Station.
Giving you a sneak peek ahead of the grand opening. You'll only see right here on 13 ABC.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but the good thing is, like we just said, no one living there at the time.
A house explosion startled Seneca County residents this morning. Nobody was hurt.
And the latest on road closures following this massive water main break. But we begin tonight with the exciting new start, the new exhibition at the Imagination Station in downtown Toledo. Titanic, the artifact exhibition, opens to the public this Saturday. Welcome into Action News at 5. I'm Lee Conklin.
And I'm Diane Larson. And 13 ABC, proud to be a media sponsor of this wonderful exhibition. And for the next hour and a half, we're going to give you a sneak peek at what you can see when you come down here to the Imagination Station.
Yeah, taking you way back in time to the period when the crew of the Titanic actually took part in sea trials, to the aftermath of that disaster that made headlines all around the world.
And you can be a part of this exciting new exhibit. It opens Saturday, as Lee mentioned, runs through June 15th, so you have a lot of time to come take a look.
Yeah, that's right. Hours are Tuesday through Saturday, 10 until 5, Sunday, noon to 5.
Tickets are $19.50 for those ages 13 to 64, $17.50 for seniors, $15.50 for kids 3 to 12. Members get in for $6.50, and there is a special group rate. Now, when you first arrive here, and we're right outside the exhibition, you are given a boarding pass with the name of an actual passenger. I'm Mrs. John Murray Brown.
And I'm John Borland Thayer, just 49 years old, a youngster, by the way.
Mrs. Brown was 59 years old, and she was returning to Massachusetts after attending her sister's funeral in England. Now, we'll tell you how these come into play a little bit later, but first we want you to follow along with us as we take you on a tour, giving you a sneak peek at what you'll see likely when you come down here to the Imagination Station. Over 150 different artifacts from the Titanic recovery site are assembled here at the Imagination Station. The exhibit takes you through the journey from the construction of Titanic to the accommodations to its terrible end. Some artifacts deal with the design of the ship, including new steel rivets and old iron ones.
And some people think, maybe that weakened some of the joints or the bonds because they had 2 different kinds of rivets in there.
We move to another room and learn about the lifeboats. There were only 16 on board and 4 more flexible lifeboats tucked away. That actually exceeded maritime laws at the time.
The lifeboats were not there to save the entirety of the boat itself or the ship itself, but rather for rescue missions for other ships that might have been in danger.
You'll see the porcelain dishes and plates recovered from 2 miles beneath the ocean surface.
But this particular piece is really cool because it has, you see those little lines on there? Those are actually the remains of tube worms that adhered to the cup while it was at the bottom of the ocean.
The finer china was used in first class, and the accommodations were opulent.
The cost of a first class ticket in today's dollars would almost be like $57,000. And then there are actually a couple specialty cabins which would have run you $100,000.
The exhibit recreates one of those first class cabins. This is one room of a 3 or 4 room suite with electric lights, something new for ships at the time.
Its electrical plant on the ship itself was actually larger than most electrical plants in most towns at that time, most cities at that time.
And from first class to third class, where a ticket would cost roughly $900 today, quarters were cramped, but the mattresses were not made of straw, unlike other ships at the time. From room to room at this exhibit, you'll see actual artifacts like a champagne bottle with champagne inside, and around the corner, perfume vials that survived on the ocean floor, brought on board by a perfume merchant.
He brought 65 vials on, and 62 were actually recovered from the ocean floor.
And you can still smell the perfume.
The au gratin dishes here, just as they were found on the ocean floor, also right in front of you.
The exhibition is filled with compelling photographs of some of the items from the ocean floor, and in front of those pictures, the actual artifacts. And as for that boarding pass, the exhibit leads to here, where the names of the passengers are listed. Does your pass contain the name of one of the 199 first-class passengers who survived, or one of the 701 crews who did not?
And this event, this exhibition, this huge exhibition, really building some excitement, anticipation here in Northwest Ohio. But of course, we have to remember the lives lost on that fateful morning, April 15th of 1912. Here's a brief history looking back.
They couldn't in any way imagine what would lie ahead. April 10th, 1912. Amid excitement and anticipation, 2,223 people set out from Southampton, England for New York. Its maiden voyage initially uneventful. The third-class menu on April 12th listing vegetable soup, roast pork sage, onions, and green peas. April 14th, lifeboat drills for passengers are neglected after church services. But that morning, Titanic starts receiving ice warnings from other ships. At 1:45, the America warns it had passed 2 large icebergs. The third and final warning would come from the SSS Mesaba. We saw much heavy pack ice and a great number of large icebergs. At 11:39, an iceberg lies right ahead, but the crew doesn't see it in the moonless still night until 30 seconds before the collision. The ship would have stayed afloat if the iceberg had only breached 4 compartments.
It breached more of that, and even the designer who was on the boat at the time, basically said it's done for, it's going down, because it just mathematically can't or physically can't stay afloat with the 5 to 6 cabins that were punctured.
April 15th, 12:15 a.m. Captain Smith assesses the damage, ordering telegraph operators to send the distress call. He also gives the order to uncover the lifeboats and evacuate the women and children. 2:20 a.m., less than 3 hours after hitting the iceberg, Titanic slips beneath the water's surface to where it still rests today, 2 miles deep on the ocean floor.
And when all was said and done, some 50 people would die in the sinking of the Titanic. And in part, this vast exhibition is a tribute to all those people who lost their lives on that early morning, most dying from hypothermia, not drowning. Now, Diane has a special guest to talk with.
That's right, Lee. It's not only a history lesson, but there's also a bit of interest in technology and the technology of the day compared to the technology now. And it's also something that a lot of kids and families are going to see, families like Kalisa Bowden's family. Now, you own Build It. Tell me a little bit first about what that is.
It is a hands-on educational center. We use Lego, Duplo, and Connects to teach science and math concepts. We do after-school clubs, things like that.
Okay, and you have an 8-year-old son who has a fascination with Titanic. Tell me about Ethan and what he likes about Titanic. What has so fascinated him?
He heard about it from a friend, and the next thing I know, his teacher said that he's read every book in school on the Titanic, and I was kind of surprised. Wow. And so basically we've been watching documentaries on it. When he heard this exhibit was coming, he was excited.
Okay, not only so excited, he dedicated 3 days to doing what?
He built a replica of the Titanic, and he was very, very adamant about getting all the details right.
With Legos, right?
Yes, all completely out of Lego.
That's amazing. And he was going to talk to us, but he's interested in seeing what's going on here, right?
Yes, he's kind of getting a little tour right now. He was very excited to see all of the artifacts.
And if we want to see the Lego exhibit, that's here as well, right?
It is. It's upstairs. You get to see it, and his name's on it. He's very excited.
Okay, Kalisa, thanks so much for being with us today. Enjoy the exhibit, and we can't wait to see the Lego exhibit as well. So, that's just one of the things that's here, a Lego Titanic, as well as all of these actual artifacts from this amazing exhibit.
And that's what makes this exhibit so special, something for kids of all ages really to see, because there's so much history involved. And I think the movie, of course, brought a lot of that to light with so many kids.
Kalisa tells me that they fast-forwarded through some of the parts of the movie with 8-year-old Ethan.
You know, this is no such testy waters here in this exhibit, though. I tell you, it's just fantastic, and so much to see here. It'll take you a while.
It will, and we've got much more to show you as well. You were standing in front of the first class quarters. Coming up a little bit later, we're going to take you to the third class deck as well.
But first, we want to toss it back to Kristen Brown. She has some significant news of this day, and we'll send it back to her in the studio. Kristen.
All right, thanks, Lee and Diane. Happening right now, Illinois Avenue is reopening after a driver hit a regulator setting at Charlie's Dodge. 13 ABC's Alexis Means is live at the scene with the latest. Alexis.
Well, the roadway just opened about 30 minutes ago. As you can see, traffic is flowing here in the area. It was shut down earlier in front of Charlie's Dodge. Someone was clearing away snow in front of the dealership and hit a high-pressure regulator setting. Now, that setting was buried in a snowdrift, and as they were pushing away that snow, they ran into it, knocked it over. That's what caused the gas leak in this area. Columbia Gas came out, they shut down the roadway, and they were able to fix that gas leak within 90 minutes. Again, the roadway is open and everything is safe in this area. Reporting live, Alexis Means, 13 ABC, Action News.
And following breaking news tonight out of Rossford, the fire chief, Jim Verboski, will be retiring March 31st. Mayor Neil McKinnon tells 13 ABC that the chief sent an inappropriate Facebook message to a fellow female firefighter in January. The mayor called for an investigation. The chief was already on probation from an incident last March for falsifying a signature. With those two incidents, the mayor told the chief he would either be terminated or he could retire. The chief chose retirement, which will happen again in March. A house explosion rocked a local neighborhood today. Take a look. These are the before and after pictures of the home we're talking about. It happened in the village of Bettsville on the north end of Seneca County just after 8 this morning. 13 ABC's Tony Geftis takes us there.
A big blast in a small town.
One of the brick walls blew out.
Those in Bettsville say an explosion shattered the windows and cracked the walls of this home as it burst into flames. It happened around 8:15 this morning at the corner of Union and Monroe. An hour before that, some neighbors say they thought they smelled natural gas.
5 till 7 this morning, I went out to start my wife's car for work, and I smelled natural gas really strong.
We looked out the front window, and I could see then that all the windows were blown out of the house. And it seemed like about 15 minutes the whole house had just engulfed in flames.
The Bettsville fire chief says he had just dropped off his kids at school when he saw the flames himself and called for backup. Volunteers from several departments spent the morning hours hosing down that brick structure behind me. They set up a temporary pool to pump water because the fire hydrants froze up. No one was home at the time of the fire. In fact, since the owner died, neighbors say no one has lived here for a few years. But the site of this building, partially blown apart, was still a shock to those who grew up nearby.
My wife said it was her second home because the lady that lived there was her school teacher, and she grew up babysitting for the kids. And so it's kind of hard for her to see it too.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but the good thing is, like we just said, no one living there at the time.
Which means no one was hurt. In Bettsville, Tony Geftis, 13 ABC, Action News.
And firefighters called in the state fire marshal's office to investigate. We're still waiting to hear whether they determined an official cause. School officials in Eden are still trying to figure out who left a bomb threat on a bathroom wall. Students were evacuated from school yesterday after a student reported the threat to administrators. Bomb-sniffing dogs searched the building. Police decided there was no threat to the facility. Students returned to class today. Well, if the morning commute wasn't hard enough, the Anthony Wayne Trail essentially became a river this morning. We'll have the latest on a massive water main break. Plus, some light flurries are expected tonight. Jay will have your full forecast.